That proposal also included a $1 million average salary, max salary of $2.5 million. $1 million average salary. That would put the league out of business. Million divided by 2, carry the 3, multiply by 4, subtract the 6. Then you have the 10 times. Oh yeah, it put the league out of business. Come on.
$1 million average salary. That's what the WNBA Players Association proposed in their December 28th offer to the league. Not for superstars, not for all-stars, but for average players. Dana Evans making $1 million. Christine Anigwe making $1 million. And according to the league's financial projections, that proposal would result in $700 million in losses over the term of the deal, more than the combined losses of the entire league over its first 29 years of existence.
$1 million salary cap would result in $700 million in losses over the course of the agreement. Such losses would jeopardize the league's financial health, the source says, and they would be more than the combined losses of the league and its teams in the WNBA's first 29 years of existence. You're telling me they could lose more over the course of this deal than over the past 29 years combined? Oh yeah, I'd say no to that. If the math's math, then, because again, we don't have.
Here's the disconnect. The Players Association claims the league's projection is absolutely false. But these are the same union representatives who've repeatedly stated they don't have access to the league's financial books. So how can they claim the projection is false if they don't have the data to verify it either way? That's not a negotiation strategy. That's guesswork dressed up as confidence.
The WNBA and Players Association remain far apart on several key issues. What a revenue sharing system should look like and what should be considered revenue and how to account for expenses. The WNBA projects a recent proposal from the Players Association, which would give players about 30% of gross revenue and is believed to feature around 10.5.
Let's break down what we know from ESPN's reporting. The Players Association submitted a proposal featuring approximately 30% of gross revenue going to players, with a salary cap around $10.5 million. The league's December 18th counteroffer proposed over 50% of net revenue, with a $5 million salary cap in year one that would grow with revenue. Notice the key difference: gross revenue versus net revenue, revenue before expenses versus revenue after expenses.
Determined based on previously audited league financial information. But the union believes its revenue sharing model still puts the league in a profitable position. A separate source close to the negotiation said, and calls the league's projected loss figure absolutely false, citing a discrepancy in whether expansion fees are factored in. At this point, expansion fees are a Ponzi scheme. You get the new investors to pay the old investors. You get the new suckers to pay the old suckers. That's what it is.
The players' position is straightforward. They believe labor shouldn't be paid last. After all, business expenses are to be left to its owners. They argue they have no control over how owners spend money, so why should player compensation be determined by expenses they can't influence? It's a philosophical argument that sounds reasonable on the surface, but it ignores a fundamental business reality. You can't distribute money that doesn't exist.
Expansion fee money. They're not. Either way, the two sides remain divided on the nature of the next deal's revenue share model, sources told ESPN. The league has proposed a system where players would receive in excess of 50% of net revenue, essentially defined as revenue after subtracting expenses, a source told ESPN. The last reported WNBA proposal from December 18th featured an uncapped revenue sharing component, a raise of maximum salaries of $1.3 million, and growing to nearly $2 million over the life of the deal. Average salaries to above $530,000 and growing to more than $780,000 over the life of the deal. And minimum salaries to more than a quarter of.
Now, here's where expansion fees become critical to understanding the standoff. Golden State, Toronto, and Portland are already in. Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia just paid $250 million each to join. That's $750 million in expansion fees coming into the league. The WNBA's position is that expansion fees generate zero net revenue because new teams get a cut of future revenue while existing teams lose a fractional share of that same revenue. It's an accounting wash. The Players Association sees it differently. They view expansion fees as real money that contributes to owners' bottom line, and they want 30% of it.
$5 million in the first year and grow in line with revenue growth in the years afterwards. By comparison, in 2025, the Supermax was $250,000, the average salary was $120,000, and the minimum was $66,000. These leagues are getting 4x. That's not good enough. The league has previously said that in addition to substantially increasing salaries and other cost commitments, it wants...
Let's put the league's current offer in perspective. In 2025, the Supermax is $250,000. The average salary is $120,000 and the minimum is $66,000. The league's December 18th proposal would increase the Supermax to $1.3 million in year one, growing to nearly $2 million over the life of the deal. Average salaries would jump to over $530,000, growing to more than $780,000. Minimum salaries would more than quadruple to over $250,000 in year one alone. That's not incremental growth. That's a 4x multiplier across the board.
The WNBA's tremendous growth in recent years provides an opportunity for the business to go from operating at losses to building sustained profitability. Now, this is what I think the owners know that the players don't know, is that the growth is damn near peaked already. We already saw ratings go down.
But apparently, quadrupling salaries isn't enough. The players want more. And this is where we need to talk about what the owners are seeing that the players either don't see or refuse to acknowledge. The growth might have already peaked. Remember, WNBA ratings went down year over year when you account for how they changed their counting methodology. They started including out-of-home viewing in 2024, which inflates the numbers. If you applied that same methodology to 2023's ratings, the year-over-year comparison shows a decline, not growth, even after the Rice deal.
WNBA's revenue sharing component allows players to still participate in that upside. As far as the media deal goes, I do see it getting renegotiated. Not for the benefit of the WNBA. If I had a ticket, I see it being renegotiated, but not for the benefit of the WNBA. These guys got to be seeing these numbers and be like, man, this isn't what we signed up for.
The owners have to be looking at these numbers and recognizing something uncomfortable. The Caitlin Clark effect is real, but it's also fragile. If she gets injured, if she has an off year, if the Indiana Fever misses the playoffs, what happens to those ratings? What happens to those ticket sales? The entire league's financial projections are built on the assumption that one player stays healthy and maintains her current level of performance and media appeal. That's not a sustainable business model.
Not adequate. The union is proposing a system based on gross revenue, defined as revenues before subtracting expenses, giving players about 30%. The WNBA Players Association believe that the players who provide the and have no control over business expenses shouldn't be paid last. You guys don't generate anything. They don't really generate money. More recently, as talks have continued, the union has proposed a lower...
And here's what makes the players' position even more difficult to justify. The media rights deal that everyone loved as a breakthrough could get renegotiated, but not in the WNBA's favor. The networks have to be looking at actual viewership data and comparing it to what they're paying. When Caitlin Clark isn't playing, ratings drop by 70 to 80% in some cases. If you're ESPN or Amazon and you committed to a deal based on projected growth that isn't materializing, you're going to want to renegotiate downward, not upward.
And as long as they don't move off their 30%, deal's never going to get done. I don't care what I don't even care what the numbers look like. As long as that revenue sharing stays at 30%, that the players seem like they want it to stay at, it's not going anywhere. It's staying right where it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I appreciate all the support. 8 more days until we find out what's going on.
So, we're 8 days away from the January 9th deadline. The Players Association has already authorized a strike, which doesn't guarantee they'll strike, but signals they're willing to. Both sides remain fundamentally divided on the core issue, gross revenue versus net revenue. 30% of everything versus 50% of what's left after expenses. As long as the union refuses to move off that 30% of gross revenue demand, this deal isn't getting done. The math doesn't work. The league can't agree to a structure that projects $700 million in losses, regardless of whether the players believe that projection or not. Here's what makes this particularly frustrating. The league is offering to more than quadruple player compensation. They're proposing uncapped revenue sharing tied to growth, meaning if revenues exceed projections, players participate in that upside. They're creating a structure where everyone wins if the business succeeds. But the players are holding out for a percentage of gross revenue that would bankrupt the league if growth stalls or declines. Think about what the players are actually demanding.